Imagine losing the love of your life, the father of your child, and when you reach out to your own family for comfort, they brush you off to celebrate your sister's birthday instead. That's what happened to me. I'm Rachel Morgan, 32, and just last week my world shattered when my husband Kevin died suddenly. But nothing prepared me for the cold shoulder from my own parents or the shocking demands that came afterward about money, inheritance, and loyalty. If you've ever felt abandoned by the people who were supposed to be your rock, if you know the sting of grief met with silence or selfishness, this story is for you. Stick with me till the end. I want you to hear everything, the heartbreak, the betrayal, but also the hard lessons about family boundaries and finding strength when you feel utterly alone. Kevin and I met when the world still felt wide open and full of possibility. It was during our sophomore year at Northwestern University, in a crowded economics lecture hall, where I was struggling to keep up with the material. I remember sitting in the back, overwhelmed by graphs and numbers that seemed to blur together, feeling isolated in a sea of confident students. Kevin was the teaching assistant, quiet, approachable, and patient. After class, he would stay behind to help anyone who needed it, and I found myself drawn to those moments when he explained depreciation curves with an easy smile and a gentle voice that made complicated ideas seem almost simple. There was something about the way he looked at the world that captured me, a kind of calm steadiness mixed with warmth. His laugh, when it came, was genuine and infectious, lighting up the room and softening even the toughest days. We started spending more time together, first in study groups, then in conversations that stretched long after the textbooks were closed. It didn't take long for me to realize that what I felt was something deeper than friendship. Kevin was not just a brilliant mind, he was also deeply compassionate. He cared about people in a way that felt rare, especially in the fast-paced world of finance and economics. It wasn't about numbers or status for him. It was about understanding and supporting others, a quality that would later define the way he approached his work and our life together. By the time we graduated, we had fallen in love completely. On that day, amidst the caps and gowns and the echo of applause, Kevin surprised me by slipping a small velvet box into my diploma case. When I opened it, tears came quickly, not just for the ring, but for the promise it represented. We married young at 23, holding tightly to the belief that life was meant to be shared, no matter the challenges or warnings from those who thought we were rushing. Kevin landed a promising job at a financial advisory firm in Chicago. Watching him navigate his career was inspiring. He had a rare ability to balance sharp intellect with genuine kindness, gaining the trust of clients not just through his expertise but through the sincerity with which he treated them. I admired how he always found time to listen, to encourage, and to connect. He wasn't just building a career, he was building a legacy. Our early years as a married couple were full of dreams and plans. We talked about everything: travel, future homes, and most of all, starting a family. It was a hope we both held close to our hearts, but the path there was far more difficult than we ever imagined. I remember the crushing weight of disappointment after each miscarriage, the long nights spent researching options and clinging to hope during endless doctor appointments. The strain on our emotions and our finances was immense, yet Kevin never faltered. His strength became my anchor, and together we faced the unknown with quiet determination. When I finally became pregnant with Lily, the joy was immeasurable, but came with its own set of trials. My pregnancy was complicated, and the months I spent on bed rest felt endless. But Kevin was unwavering. He adapted his work schedule to care for me, bringing warmth and comfort when I needed it most. His breakfast in bed, the gentle massages to ease my swelling feet, and the way he read aloud from parenting books created a cocoon of love and reassurance during a fragile time. When Lily was born, the world shifted. Kevin's tears when he held her told me everything I needed to know about the depth of his love and devotion. He was a father who would move mountains for his daughter, and he showed it every day. From coaching her soccer team despite knowing nothing about the sport, to meticulously organizing her school events on his color-coded calendar, Kevin embraced fatherhood with an open heart and fierce dedication. Our family life, filled with laughter and small moments of joy, was everything I had dreamed of. But beneath the surface, there were quiet warnings. Kevin's health had its fragilities, chest pains dismissed as stress, shortness of breath passed off as being out of shape. We trusted the reassurances from doctors and each other, hoping these signs were nothing more than passing troubles. Those early days of our life together were marked by love and hope, but also by the unspoken understanding that life was fragile. In those moments, I never imagined that tragedy would come so suddenly, and that everything we built would be tested in unimaginable ways. Kevin wasn't just my husband, he was my best friend, my partner in every sense, in the heart of our family. The memories of those years, the small gestures, the dreams we shared, and the love that held us together are the foundation upon which I now try to build a new life, even as I navigate the pain of losing him. The journey to becoming parents was far from the fairy tale Kevin and I had envisioned. We dreamed of welcoming a child into our lives with open arms and hearts full of hope, but what unfolded was a series of quiet heartbreaks that tested us in ways we never expected. The pain of infertility is something I don't believe anyone truly prepares you for. It's a slow, creeping sorrow that seeps into every part of your life unspoken, yet always present. After deciding to try for a baby each month brought a fragile optimism quickly replaced by crushing disappointment when the tests showed no pregnancy. The first miscarriage felt like a sudden storm that knocked us off balance. I remember the day clearly: the sterile hospital room, the whispered words from the doctor, and the overwhelming sense of loss that settled over me like a heavy fog. Kevin held my hand tightly, his face a mixture of sorrow and helplessness, but his quiet presence was a lifeline when everything else felt uncertain. We tried again, hoping this time would be different. But the second loss came with the same devastation, and the pattern of grief and hope repeated itself with a cruel rhythm. The emotional toll was exhausting. I withdrew at times, overwhelmed by guilt and confusion, questioning my body and my worth. Kevin never let me fall completely into that dark place. He was steady and kind, reminding me that we were in this together, that our love was bigger than any pain we faced. Doctors became a frequent part of our lives: appointments, tests, consultations, and conversations about treatments we barely understood. We learned about IVF, a process that felt both hopeful and daunting. The physical demands of hormone injections and invasive procedures were challenging, but the emotional strain was even greater. Each cycle brought anticipation mixed with fear, and when the results were negative, it was as if the ground beneath us gave way again. The financial cost of fertility treatments added another layer of stress. We had saved carefully, but the bills mounted, and the weight of uncertainty made it hard to focus on anything beyond the next appointment. Yet through it all, Kevin remained my unwavering supporter. He researched options, accompanied me to every visit, and held me when the tears came late at night. Eventually, we began to talk about adoption. It was a difficult conversation, tinged with a mix of hope and resignation. The idea of expanding our family through adoption opened a new door, but also meant facing the reality that our path might look different from what we had imagined. It was a testament to the depth of our love and resilience that we considered this possibility with open hearts. Then unexpectedly, the news came that I was pregnant again. The joy was overwhelming, but it was shadowed by caution. The pregnancy was not easy. I was placed on bed rest for the last 2 months, confined to the quiet of our home while Kevin balanced work and care for me. Those weeks were long and lonely, but Kevin's devotion never wavered. He transformed our small apartment into a sanctuary of love, reading to me and to our unborn daughter, anticipating her arrival with a tenderness that filled every room. When Lily was born, the culmination of years of pain and hope, Kevin's reaction surprised me. I had expected tears from me, but it was Kevin who wept openly, holding her fragile body, as if she were the most precious thing in the world. In that moment, I saw not just the joy of becoming parents, but the profound relief of a long journey finally reaching its destination. The struggles we faced with fertility taught me a deep, quiet strength, the ability to endure pain without losing hope, and the power of love to carry you through the darkest times. Kevin and I emerged from that chapter forever changed, bound by a love that had been tested and proven resilient. It was this love that would become the foundation of our family, even as life's uncertainties continued to unfold around us. Our life together with Lily felt like the beautiful fulfillment of everything Kevin and I had hoped for. Those years were filled with a sense of completeness that only comes from building a family through love and shared commitment. Watching Kevin embrace fatherhood was one of the most profound experiences of my life. Despite the challenges we had faced to get to that point, the everyday moments we shared made every hardship seem worth it. Kevin threw himself wholeheartedly into being a dad. Even though he had never played soccer before, he became Lily's most enthusiastic coach. I remember how he would stay up late after she went to bed, watching YouTube tutorials to learn the rules and drills so he could support her properly. That determination to learn and grow alongside our daughter was one of the many ways he showed his love. It wasn't just about winning games or being the best coach. It was about being present, involved, and making sure Lily knew she had someone in her corner no matter what. He never missed a school event, a doctor's appointment, or any moment that mattered to Lily. His calendar was meticulously organized, color-coded with reminders for everything from art shows to parent-teacher conferences. What struck me most was how he managed to balance the high demands of his career with the even greater demands of being a father and husband. His work in financial advisory was intense, often stressful, but he approached it with the same honesty and care he showed at home. That combination made him exceptional not only in his profession, but in every relationship he built. Behind the warmth and laughter of those years, though, there were subtle shadows that we chose to overlook. Kevin experienced occasional chest pains and bouts of shortness of breath. We both convinced ourselves these were normal reactions to his stressful job and the busy life we led. Doctors told us his slightly elevated blood pressure was not uncommon for men his age and with his responsibilities. The advice was always the same: exercise more, reduce sodium, manage stress. We nodded, agreed, and then went on with our lives, unwilling or unable to confront the possibility that something more serious could be brewing. Looking back now, those quiet warnings seem tragically obvious, but at the time, hope and denial often feel like the only options. We clung to the normalcy of our family routine, the sound of Lily's laughter filling the house, the chaos of school projects and soccer practices, the dinners around the table where we shared stories about our days. These were the moments that made life meaningful, that built the foundation of our family's story. Kevin's love was the glue that held us together. His care wasn't just in grand gestures, but in the small, everyday acts that showed how deeply he valued our family. From bringing me breakfast in bed when I was exhausted to kneeling on the grass at soccer games cheering Lily on with genuine enthusiasm, he lived his role as a husband and father fully and without reservation. Those years gave us a sense of belonging and joy that I still hold close even in the shadow of loss. The picture of our family, Kevin's easy smile, Lily's bright eyes, and the quiet strength that held us all, remains a source of comfort and inspiration. It is a reminder that even amidst life's uncertainties, love can create moments of beauty and meaning that endure far beyond the challenges we face. Now, as I carry those memories forward, I understand more deeply what it means to cherish every moment. The perfect family life we built was never about perfection in the traditional sense. It was about love lived fully, presence given freely, and the courage to face life together even when the future was uncertain. That love remains my guiding light as I navigate the days ahead, holding on to the legacy Kevin left through the life we created together. That Tuesday morning began like any other. Kevin was in the kitchen making dinosaur-shaped pancakes for Lily, who sat eagerly at the table, her small hands reaching for the warm, fluffy shapes. The house was filled with the comforting sounds of family, the soft clatter of dishes, Lily's excited chatter about her school day ahead, and Kevin's easy smile as he reminded me not to forget the real maple syrup when I went shopping later. It was such an ordinary moment filled with the quiet rhythms of everyday life, and I never could have imagined it would be the last one we shared. Then, without warning, everything changed. My phone rang just as I was about to sip my coffee. The voice on the other end was Amanda, Kevin's assistant. There was a trembling in her words, a shakiness I had never heard before. She told me that Kevin had collapsed during a client meeting, that the ambulance was already there, and they were rushing him to Northwestern Memorial Hospital. I remember the sound of my coffee mug slipping from my hand and shattering on the tile floor. The sharp, sudden noise echoed in that silent kitchen, marking the moment my life fractured. Driving to the hospital felt like moving through a nightmare I couldn't wake from. Every red light and honk of a horn blurred together as I sped through the city streets, my mind racing and heart pounding with desperate hope. I whispered prayers I hadn't spoken since childhood, bargaining with a God I wasn't sure still listened. Please let this be a mistake. Please let him be okay. Please just let me see him again. When I arrived at the hospital, the sterile brightness of the emergency room was jarring. The doctors and nurses moved quickly, but with a solemnity that told me the news I feared. Kevin was pronounced dead at 11:23 a.m., just minutes before I got there. I stood frozen, unable to process how the man who had been so full of life, so vibrant and loving, could be gone so suddenly and completely. Seeing his body was surreal. Kevin lay there as if he were merely sleeping, but there was an unnatural stillness to him. His chest did not rise and fall, his eyes remained closed. I reached out to touch his face, expecting warmth or some sign of life, but the stillness remained. His skin was warm to the touch, an eerie reminder that death had only just arrived, but I kept hoping for a miracle, that he would open his eyes, smile, and tell me this was all a terrible mistake. In that moment, grief washed over me in waves heavy and relentless. The disbelief, the shock, the raw pain all collided inside me, leaving me breathless. I found myself caught between wanting to scream and needing to curl up into myself, overwhelmed by the suddenness of loss and the cruel finality it carried. The world around me continued moving, oblivious to the shattering of my own. The hours that followed were a blur of cold clinical decisions and endless paperwork. I was asked questions that felt impossible to answer: whether to choose cremation or burial, what kind of service Kevin would have wanted, what suit he would have worn. These practical matters collided painfully with my desire to turn back time and hold my husband one last time. Driving home that day was one of the hardest things I have ever done. I had to tell Lily that her father wasn't coming home, that he was gone forever. Her small, innocent face crumpled in confusion and heartbreak as she struggled to understand a loss so vast. She asked me, "Does that mean Daddy isn't coming home ever?" And when I nodded, unable to speak through my tears, she let out a sound that broke me, a raw, primal cry that carried the weight of a child's pure, unbearable grief. We sat together on the side of the road, holding each other as the world passed by unaware. In that moment, I realized that nothing would ever be the same. The man who had been the center of our lives was gone, and I was left to navigate the silence he left behind. It was a grief so deep and profound that it felt like the very foundation of my world had collapsed. Yet even in that darkest moment, I clung to the memories of Kevin, the laughter, the kindness, the love that had filled our home. Those memories became a fragile lifeline, reminding me that while he was gone, the love we shared would never truly leave us. The heartbreaking call marked the beginning of a journey through sorrow and healing, one I would have to walk not only for myself, but for Lily and the family Kevin and I had built together. After Kevin's sudden death, the crushing weight of grief settled over Lily and me like a thick fog, dulling every sense and making each breath feel heavy. In those first raw hours, all I wanted was the comfort of family, the familiar voices, the steady hands, the warm embraces that could somehow make the unbearable more bearable. I reached out to my parents, hoping for refuge in their love for someone to help carry the pain that felt too vast for me alone. But instead, I was met with something I never expected: distance, indifference, and a painful prioritization of a family celebration over my loss. When I called, my mother's voice was distant, almost distracted. She told me they were in the middle of celebrating Sophia's birthday, my sister's special day, and asked if I could wait until tomorrow to talk. In that moment, disbelief and hurt collided inside me. Here I was, a widow and a mother, grappling with the sudden void left by Kevin's death, and my own family was choosing a party over my grief. The coldness in her tone was a blow I hadn't anticipated. It wasn't just a matter of timing, it was a message that our pain, our loss, was not their priority. That night, Lily and I sat together in our quiet home, holding on to each other as the world moved on without us. There was a strange silence in the air, broken only by our whispered tears and sobs. The absence of my family's support felt like another loss layered on top of the one we were already enduring. It was as if the very people who should have been our strongest allies had turned away when we needed them most. The feeling of abandonment was profound and heartbreaking. Grief is isolating enough without the added sting of rejection. In the days that followed, I realized that this was not a moment they would come to share or shoulder with us. Calls were few and brief, more focused on practicalities than empathy. My father's voice, when it came, was cold and businesslike, asking about life insurance policies rather than asking how I was coping or if Lily was all right. There was no offer to come, no words of comfort, no acknowledgement of the void left behind. Just a chilling detachment that made the emptiness in my heart feel even wider. Watching Lily process her father's death was heart-wrenching. She was so young, yet she instinctively understood that something was wrong, that our family was fractured in ways beyond her years. She missed Kevin deeply and needed reassurance, love, and support. Instead, she was left to wrestle with confusion and sorrow, largely on her own, finding solace only in the few close friends and neighbors who stepped in to help. I tried to fill the gap, but the absence of my own parents' presence was like a shadow that darkened our days. In stark contrast, Kevin's family showed up fully. His brother Marcus flew in from Japan, exhausted after a long journey, but determined to be there. Kevin's parents embraced Lily with open arms, offering comfort and care that we desperately needed. They took on practical tasks with quiet grace, caring for Lily during the funeral reception, making sure she ate, and protecting her from the overwhelming flood of visitors. Their grief was palpable, but it was accompanied by a fierce devotion to supporting us. Their presence was a balm in the midst of chaos, a reminder that love can come from places we might not expect. This contrast between the two families was a painful awakening. It forced me to reevaluate what family truly means. Blood relations do not always guarantee love or loyalty. Sometimes the people who should be your refuge become sources of pain or neglect. Kevin's family became my anchor when my own felt adrift, showing me that true family is built on compassion, presence, and unwavering support, especially in the darkest times. The loneliness left by my parents' absence was a wound that took time to acknowledge and begin to heal. I realized that while I couldn't change their choices, I could choose how to move forward for Lily's sake and my own. It became clear that I needed to protect our small family and build a circle of care that honored the love Kevin and I had created. Grief is a long journey, and walking it without the support of your birth family makes it even harder. But it also teaches resilience, the necessity of setting boundaries, and the importance of finding strength in those who truly care. In those quiet, painful days, I learned that healing doesn't come from forcing relationships that aren't there, but from nurturing those that bring light and love. Kevin's family became that light for us, guiding us through sorrow with genuine kindness. They helped us remember that even in loss, love endures not always where you expect it, but always where it is real. In the midst of my family's absence and coldness, Kevin's family became an unexpected source of comfort and strength, a stark contrast that both surprised and deeply moved me. Their response to our loss was not just a matter of duty or formality. It was genuine, heartfelt, and unwavering. From the moment Kevin passed, they showed up in every way that my own parents did not, offering a kind of love and support that became a lifeline for Lily and me. Kevin's brother Marcus arrived from Japan, where he taught English, exhausted from a grueling 30-hour journey, but determined to be present for his family. Despite the fatigue etched on his face and the hollowness in his eyes from sleepless nights, he did not hesitate to take Lily's hand during the funeral service, sitting quietly beside her, providing a steady presence when words felt inadequate. Their identical blonde hair and soft, similar expressions reminded me that though we were grieving, there was a continuity, a shared bond that could not be broken by death. Marcus's dedication extended beyond the ceremony. He stayed close, offering support without overwhelming us, blending into the background yet remaining a constant source of comfort. His quiet resilience was a reminder that grief takes many forms, and sometimes the greatest support is simply being there, steadfast and patient. Kevin's parents, Diana and Robert, embodied a grace and strength that anchored our family in that turbulent time. Though their hearts were shattered by the loss of their only son, they carried themselves with a quiet dignity and unwavering compassion. Diana took on the role of caregiver for Lily during the funeral reception, ensuring she was nourished and shielded from the barrage of guests, whose sympathy, though well-meaning, could be overwhelming for a child so young. Her gentle presence reassured me in moments when my strength faltered. Robert, meanwhile, worked behind the scenes. He quietly organized the cleanup after the gathering, staying until the last guest had left, embodying a form of love that showed through actions rather than words. His presence was a reminder that support often comes in ways that aren't immediately visible but are deeply felt. The kindness they extended was not limited to practical matters. They shared stories and memories of Kevin that painted a fuller picture of the man I loved, a brother and son who had touched many lives with his warmth and integrity. Through these shared memories, they helped keep Kevin's spirit alive for Lily and me, creating a sense of connection that went beyond grief. What struck me most profoundly was the contrast between their heartfelt involvement and the cold detachment of my own family. Kevin's family did not hesitate to embrace us in our sorrow. They did not question the depth of our pain or make it about anything other than honoring Kevin's memory and supporting those he loved. Their actions spoke louder than words. Every gesture of care and every moment of presence reinforced that love is not just about being related by blood, but about showing up when it matters most. This experience reshaped my understanding of what family truly means. It showed me that genuine support and compassion can come from those who choose to stand by you even when others do not. Kevin's family taught me that love is demonstrated through presence, empathy, and kindness, especially in the hardest moments. Their support became the foundation on which Lily and I could begin to rebuild our lives. As we moved forward, the bond with Kevin's family grew stronger, rooted in shared loss, but also in shared love and commitment. Their steadfastness was a beacon during the darkest days, guiding us toward healing and reminding us that even in grief we are not alone. Through their example, I learned that family is not always defined by genetics, but by those who hold us up when we are weakest. Kevin's family became our chosen family in every meaningful way, their compassion helping to fill the void left by loss and abandonment. Their support was a profound gift, one that continues to inspire me as I navigate life without Kevin, but surrounded by the love they so generously offered. As the initial shock of Kevin's passing slowly gave way to the overwhelming reality of life without him, another painful chapter unfolded, one marked not by grief, but by betrayal and the need to set firm boundaries. It was a time when I needed my family more than ever, yet their true colors revealed themselves in the most unsettling way. 2 weeks after the funeral, there was an unexpected knock at the door. I wasn't prepared for visitors, especially not under these circumstances. When I looked through the peephole, I saw my parents standing there, my father adjusting his golf shirt, my mother composed but distant. They had come not to offer condolences or support, but to discuss matters that chilled me to my core: Kevin's estate and financial assets. Their approach was disconcerting from the start. Instead of expressing concern for my well-being or offering help, they spoke coldly and pragmatically about life insurance policies, retirement funds, and the recent market downturn. The conversation quickly shifted to insinuations that since Kevin had left a substantial inheritance, it was only practical and fair that I assist the family in return. There was an unspoken expectation, a demand masked in polite language, that I share the wealth to support their retirement and to help my sister Sophia, who, as they reminded me, had struggled financially as an artist. Hearing these words felt like a punch to the gut. Just weeks earlier, when I was drowning in grief, these were the same people who had chosen my sister's birthday party over offering me comfort. Now suddenly they were here not to check on me, not to ask how Lily was coping, but to talk about money. Their timing and priorities cut deeper than I could express. Lily, perceptive beyond her years, quickly sensed the tension and the true nature of the visit. She asked quietly if they had brought anything for us, hoping for a small kindness to soften the moment. When I explained they had not, but had come to discuss grown-up things, she surprised me by voicing what I had feared: she had overheard her grandfather talking about Daddy's money and the possibility of taking some of it. Her innocence and clarity struck me harder than any argument could have. In that moment, the protective mother in me hardened. I realized I could no longer remain passive or hopeful that my parents would simply show up when we needed them. This was about more than money. It was about respect, loyalty, and the boundaries I needed to set for the sake of Lily and myself. I contacted Thomas, our family lawyer, who reviewed Kevin's will and insurance documents with me. He reassured me that Kevin had been meticulous and clear in his wishes. I was the sole beneficiary of his life insurance and retirement accounts, and there was a trust set up specifically for Lily that could not be accessed until she turned 25, except for educational expenses. Legally, my parents had no claim to any of Kevin's assets, but Thomas also warned me to be vigilant. These kinds of family disputes, sadly, were more common than I would have hoped. When I shared this information with Lily, she responded with a quiet determination that belied her age. She wanted to confront the situation head-on, and even came up with a creative idea to hold the family accountable for their neglect. Her strength inspired me to stand firmer than ever. The confrontation with my parents was difficult and painful. Their demands felt like a betrayal of everything Kevin and I had built together. They seemed to see his death as an opportunity, a windfall to be divided rather than a tragedy to be mourned. I found myself defending not only my own rights, but protecting Lily's future from those who should have been her greatest supporters. Through it all, I learned a hard lesson about family love and loyalty cannot be assumed simply because of shared blood. Sometimes they must be earned and protected. The financial betrayal was intertwined with emotional abandonment, and I realized that safeguarding my daughter's well-being meant setting clear boundaries, even if it meant distancing ourselves from those who should have been there. This period of legal consultations and difficult conversations was as exhausting as it was heartbreaking. Yet it also marked a turning point. I was no longer just a grieving widow. I was a mother and guardian standing up for her family's future. The fight to protect Lily's inheritance was about more than money. It was about honoring Kevin's legacy and ensuring that his love and care would not be overshadowed by selfishness or entitlement. The betrayal I felt from my parents was deep, but it strengthened my resolve. I promised myself and Lily that we would face this new reality with courage, protect our family fiercely, and build a life defined not by loss and greed, but by love, respect, and integrity. It was a painful lesson in boundaries, but one that ultimately became a foundation for healing and growth. When the reality of my parents' demands settled around me, I knew I had to take more than just emotional refuge. I had to take a stand to protect Lily and myself. The betrayal stung deeply, but what mattered most was securing the future Kevin had so carefully planned for us. It was a painful lesson in how love sometimes requires fierce boundaries, especially when those closest to you fail to show up in the way you need. I reached out to Thomas, our family lawyer, a steady presence amid the chaos. Sitting with him in his quiet office, surrounded by the weight of legal documents and the soft hum of a printer, I laid bare the situation, the unexpected visit from my parents, their veiled demands, and the growing anxiety about what they might try next. Thomas listened carefully, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the storm inside me. He reviewed Kevin's will and financial papers with meticulous care. Every clause, every designation was clear. Kevin had named me the sole beneficiary of his life insurance and retirement funds. More importantly, he had set up a trust for Lily that could not be accessed until she reached 25 years of age, except for funds strictly allocated to her education. The legal safeguards Kevin had put in place were strong a testament to his foresight and love. But Thomas was also realistic. He warned me that these legal protections, while robust, would not necessarily prevent my parents from attempting to contest the will or pressure me emotionally and financially. Family disputes over inheritance are sadly common, and the law can only do so much to shield us from pain inflicted by those who feel entitled. I left that meeting with a mix of relief and resolve. The path ahead was clear, but it would require vigilant strength and a willingness to stand firm against those who might try to undermine what Kevin had secured. This was no longer just a matter of grief. It had become a fight to protect my daughter's future. I understood that standing up to my own parents would not be easy, but I was determined to do whatever it took to honor Kevin's legacy and keep Lily safe. I found an unexpected source of strength in Lily herself. Despite her young age, she demonstrated a maturity and clarity that often took me by surprise. When I shared with her the legal protections in place, she grasped the significance immediately. She wanted to face the situation head-on, to confront the hurt with courage. Together, we discussed how to navigate these challenges, not with anger, but with dignity and a firm sense of justice. In the weeks that followed, I began setting boundaries with my parents more clearly than ever before. I refused to engage in conversations that felt manipulative or self-serving, and communicated through our lawyer when necessary. This distancing was painful, but it was essential for our emotional well-being. Throughout this process, I learned that asserting oneself in the face of betrayal is not about severing ties lightly or with bitterness. It is about protecting what matters most. It is about preserving the love and security that Kevin and I had worked so hard to create. It is about teaching Lily that she deserves to be valued and protected, no matter what others might say or do. Standing up for ourselves was an act of love as much as it was of necessity. It was about drawing a line and saying that despite the grief and loss, we would not allow ourselves to be further harmed. This resolve became a source of healing, empowering me to move forward with purpose and strength. In the end, the legal support was more than just paperwork and contracts. It was a foundation upon which I could rebuild our lives with confidence. It reminded me that while grief may be isolating, I was not powerless. With the right help and the courage to stand firm, Lily and I could navigate the challenges ahead and honor Kevin's memory in a way that was true to his love and care. This chapter of standing up for myself was difficult, but it became a turning point. It was a lesson in resilience and courage, and in the unyielding power of protecting family, especially when those who should protect you fail to do so. It was a reminder that sometimes love means fighting fiercely for what you hold most dear. Despite all the pain and confusion swirling around us, Lily showed a strength that often took me by surprise. She was only 8 years old, but her understanding of our situation went far beyond what I expected for someone so young. In the midst of her grief, she exhibited a wisdom that was both heartbreaking and inspiring. It was as if she instinctively knew that our family was fractured in ways no child should have to comprehend, and yet she faced it with a quiet determination that gave me courage when I felt weak. Lily had always been perceptive, but the events following Kevin's death sharpened that awareness. She noticed things adults might try to hide: the hushed conversations, the absence of my parents when we needed them, and the sudden focus on money rather than mourning. One day, she asked me a question that cut straight to the heart of the matter. "Mom," she said softly, "why did Grandpa and Grandma only come to talk about Daddy's money? Did they forget about us when Daddy died?" Her question hung in the air, raw and honest. It made me realize that children see more than we often give them credit for. She was not just processing loss, she was grappling with a profound sense of betrayal. But instead of retreating into silence, Lily chose to speak up in her own way. She began expressing her feelings through simple but powerful acts. She made drawings for Kevin, wrote little notes about what she missed, and even came up with an idea that reflected both her grief and her sense of justice, a pretend invoice for the family asking them to pay for the times they had neglected us when we needed them most. Her creativity was a balm in the midst of chaos, a way for her to reclaim some control in a world that had suddenly become unpredictable and painful. Watching her do this taught me that strength does not always look like bravery in the face of danger. Sometimes it is quiet resilience, the ability to process complex emotions and still find ways to express hope and demand fairness even at such a young age. Lily's courage also gave me permission to be honest about my own feelings. When she voiced her frustrations and sadness, it opened a space for me to share my grief and anger without feeling ashamed or weak. We became each other's support system, navigating the storm of loss and family conflict side by side. Her insight into the situation was striking. She understood that the money meant more to some people than the relationships that greed could overshadow love. Yet she also showed forgiveness in her own way. Her invoice was not a weapon of anger, but a call for recognition and change, a plea for those who hurt us to acknowledge the damage they caused and make amends. Through Lily, I learned that children can teach us about resilience, fairness, and the power of voice. She reminded me that even in grief, there is room for strength, creativity, and the hope for better days. Her wisdom, so natural and unfiltered, was a guiding light when the darkness felt overwhelming. In honoring Lily's strength, I also honored Kevin's legacy, the love and values he instilled in her. It was clear to me that protecting her future meant not only safeguarding our financial security, but nurturing her spirit, her sense of justice, and her ability to stand up for what is right. Together we faced the challenges ahead, buoyed by the quiet, steadfast wisdom of a child who refused to be silenced. In the aftermath of loss and betrayal, rebuilding our lives felt like climbing a steep and uncertain mountain. The grief was still raw, but slowly, with each passing day, Lily and I began to find small ways to heal and move forward. It was not an easy journey. There were moments when the weight of loneliness and sadness threatened to overwhelm us, but through it all, we discovered a new sense of purpose and resilience that carried us beyond the pain. The foundation of our healing was love, both the love that Kevin had left behind and the love that we nurtured between ourselves. Lily's presence was a constant reminder that life, even after tragedy, still held meaning and beauty. Her laughter, her curiosity, and her strength became beacons of hope, guiding me through the darkest hours. Together, we began to reclaim our life, not by forgetting what had happened, but by honoring it and allowing ourselves to feel grieve and grow. Kevin's family remained a vital source of support, their genuine care a steadying force that helped fill some of the emptiness left by my own parents' absence. They joined us in remembering Kevin not just in sorrow, but in the celebration of his life and values. Their kindness allowed Lily to maintain a connection to her father's memory, giving her moments of joy amid the sadness. Simple acts like baking Kevin's favorite cookies with his mother Diana, or fishing quietly with his father Robert, created new traditions and a sense of continuity that helped us heal. In time, I found purpose beyond survival. With the help of our lawyer Thomas, I established a foundation in Kevin's name dedicated to providing financial education for underserved communities, a cause close to his heart. This work gave me something to focus on beyond grief, a way to channel my pain into something meaningful that could help others. It connected me to people who shared Kevin's values and inspired me to keep moving forward. The process of rebuilding was also about setting boundaries and protecting ourselves emotionally. I learned to recognize what relationships nurtured us and which ones drained our energy. I let go of the hope that some would change overnight and focused on creating a safe space for Lily and me. This included limiting contact with those who had caused harm and surrounding ourselves with people who offered genuine love and respect. Healing was not linear. There were days when grief would resurface with a force that felt unbearable. But each time I found new ways to cope, whether through quiet reflection by the lake where Kevin and I once spent time together, or in conversations with friends who understood the complexities of loss. These moments reminded me that healing is a process, not a destination, and that it is possible to carry love and pain simultaneously. On the second anniversary of Kevin's death, I took Lily to his favorite spot by the lake. Sitting there with her watching the sunlight dance on the water, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in a long time. We talked about Kevin, about our memories and our hopes for the future. It was a moment of connection, not just with Kevin's memory, but with each other and with the life we were building anew. The financial security Kevin provided remained untouched, carefully preserved for Lily's future education and living expenses. But more important than the money was the legacy of love, courage, and integrity he left us. It was these values that gave me the strength to stand tall and guide Lily through the challenges ahead. Rebuilding after such profound loss taught me that life's meaning is often found not in what we have, but in how we choose to carry forward the love and lessons of those we've lost. Lily and I continue to walk this path together, learning to embrace both the sorrow and the joy that life brings. In doing so, We honor Kevin's memory and create a future filled with hope, resilience, and love that endures beyond loss. So here's the takeaway. When tragedy hits, your real family shows up. If they don't, it's okay to protect yourself and your loved ones. Grief is raw and messy, but it also reveals truths about who deserves your trust. You can find strength and love in your chosen family, your friends, even your children. And sometimes standing up to those who hurt you is the greatest act of love you can give yourself and those you care about. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, please share where you're watching from in the comments and subscribe for more stories about healing, courage, and family, however it looks.